Welcome to Learn English by Reading. Today, we have a wonderful and meaningful story for you. The Goose That Laid the Golden Eggs. This story is one of the most famous moral tales in the world. It teaches us about patience, greed, and the importance of being thankful for what we have. In this channel, we believe that reading stories is one of the best ways to learn English. When you listen and read at the same time, your vocabulary grows naturally, your grammar improves, and your confidence in English becomes stronger every day. So, as you enjoy this story, pay attention to the words, phrases, and sentences. Try to repeat them and practice speaking. The Goose That Laid the Golden Eggs is about a poor farmer and his wife who discover a magical goose that lays golden eggs. But instead of being happy and patient, they become greedy. Their desire for quick riches brings them sadness and regret. This simple story gives us a powerful lesson. Too much greed can destroy even the best blessings in life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this story while improving your English skills. Let's begin. Chapter 1. A Poor Farmer and His Wife. In a quiet village surrounded by green fields and tall trees, there lived a poor farmer and his wife. Their house was small and old, made of wood and straw. Every morning the farmer woke up early before the sun rose. He worked hard in his fields, growing vegetables and taking care of his few animals. His wife helped him by cooking, cleaning, and feeding the chickens. Life was not easy for them. The farmer's clothes were old and torn. His shoes had holes. His wife wore the same simple dress every day. They often had little to eat, sometimes only bread and soup. But even though they were poor, they were kind and honest people. They never stole, and they never complained too much. The farmer loved his small farm. When he looked at his land, he always said, "Someday, our hard work will bring us a better life." His wife would smile and answer, "Yes, we must keep working and believe in good days." Every morning, the farmer went out with his tools, a wooden plow, a shovel, and a basket. He worked under the hot sun until his back hurt and his hands became rough. The wife stayed at home, washing clothes in the stream near their house. She sang softly while she worked. Her song made the birds stop and listen. Sometimes, when they sat by the fire at night, the farmer dreamed of being rich. "If only we had more money," he said, "I could buy better tools and new clothes for you." His wife would gently laugh and say, "Money is good, but peace is better." The farmer nodded, but deep inside, he wished for a better life. One morning, something unusual happened. When the farmer went to the small shed behind his house to feed his animals, he noticed one of his geese acting strangely. The goose was sitting quietly in the corner, not moving much. "What's wrong with you, my friend?" the farmer asked kindly. The goose looked at him but didn't make a sound. The farmer thought it might be sick. He picked it up carefully and placed it on some soft hay. Then he saw something shiny under the goose. It looked like a stone at first, but when he touched it, he realized it was heavy and bright yellow. He called his wife in a loud voice. "Come quickly! Look what I found!" She ran to the shed, wiping her hands on her apron. When she saw the object in his hand, her eyes grew wide. "Is that gold?" she whispered. The farmer nodded slowly. "Yes, it looks like a golden egg." They both stood there, staring at it in surprise. The sunlight came through the small window and made the egg sparkle beautifully. The wife couldn't believe it. "A golden egg? From our goose? How can that be?" The farmer smiled. "I don't know, but it's real. We must take it to the town and see." The next day, they carried the egg to the market. The goldsmith checked it carefully and said, "This is pure gold." "You are lucky people." He gave them a good amount of money for it. The farmer and his wife were amazed. They had never held so much money before. That night, they talked for hours by the fire. "We can buy new clothes," said the wife. "And maybe fix the roof," said the farmer. They both laughed happily. For the first time in their lives, they felt rich, even if just a little. Before going to bed, the farmer went to the shed again. He thanked the goose softly. "You have changed our lives." "Thank you." The goose made a gentle sound, as if it understood. The next morning, when they woke up, the goose had laid another golden egg. The farmer and his wife couldn't believe their eyes. 2 golden eggs in 2 days. They felt joy and hope rise inside them. They began to dream of new things, a bigger house, more land, and a life without worry. They didn't know it yet, but their lives were about to change forever. Chapter 2. A Simple Life in the Countryside. After the farmer and his wife found the golden egg, their life began to change, but slowly. They still lived in the same small house in the countryside, surrounded by green fields, tall grass, and singing birds. The farmer loved this peaceful place. Every morning he walked outside and felt the cool wind on his face. The air was fresh, and the sky was wide and blue. He looked at his land and smiled. "This is our home," he said proudly. His wife smiled too and answered, "Yes, we may be poor, but our hearts are rich." Even though they now had some money from the first golden egg, they didn't spend it quickly. The farmer was a careful man. He bought a little more food and some new clothes, but nothing more. "We must save," he said. "We don't know what tomorrow will bring." The goose, their special bird, had become the most important part of their life. Every morning, the farmer went to the shed to check on it. The goose seemed healthy and happy. It walked slowly around the straw floor, making soft sounds. Sometimes it looked at the farmer as if it understood everything. Then, one morning, when the sun had just risen, the goose laid another golden egg. The farmer and his wife were amazed again. "Can it be true?" said the wife. 2 golden eggs in 2 days. The farmer laughed with joy. "This goose is a blessing from heaven." They took the egg to town once more and sold it. Now they had even more money than before. With each golden egg, their life became a little easier. The wife bought new cooking pots and a warm blanket for the cold nights. The farmer bought new tools for the field and repaired their broken fence. They finally had enough food, bread, vegetables, and even a little meat on Sundays. Still, they did not forget their old life. Every evening, they sat outside their house and watched the sun set together. The farmer played his small wooden flute, and the wife sang softly, the sound of her voice mixed with the chirping of crickets. Life felt peaceful and full of simple joy. But sometimes, the wife looked at the goose with wonder and curiosity. "How can one small bird make such magic?" she asked. The farmer smiled and said, "Maybe it's a gift from the gods. We should take care of it and never be greedy." The wife nodded, but in her heart a little seed of curiosity and greed began to grow. She loved the golden eggs, but she also began to want more. One afternoon, some neighbors came to visit. They saw the goose and heard the story. Everyone was amazed. "You are so lucky," they said. "You'll be rich soon." The farmer smiled shyly and said, "We thank the heavens for this gift." But after the neighbors left, their words stayed in his wife's mind. You'll be rich soon, she repeated to herself. Yes, maybe we can be rich faster. As days passed, the goose continued to lay one golden egg every morning. The farmer and his wife became known in the village as the lucky couple. People came to see the goose, and children whispered stories about it. Some people even said it must be a magic bird. The farmer, however, remained humble. He continued his farm work as before, watering plants, cutting grass, and feeding the animals. He never let pride or greed take his heart. But his wife started to think differently. At night, while lying in bed, she whispered, "If the goose has so much gold inside it, why do we wait every day for just one egg? What if we take all the gold at once?" The farmer frowned. "Don't say that," he replied. "The goose gives us enough. We must be patient. Too much greed can bring trouble." The wife stayed quiet, but the idea did not leave her mind. She looked at the goose every morning and imagined how much gold it might hold. Still, for now, their life was calm and full of quiet happiness. The fields were green, the sky was bright, and the golden eggs continued to shine like small suns in their hands. But deep inside, something was changing. A dangerous thought was beginning to grow, one that could destroy everything they had worked for. Chapter 3. A Strange Surprise in the Nest. One cool morning, the farmer woke up early as usual. The air was fresh, and the first light of dawn touched the fields with soft gold. He stretched his arms, took his basket, and walked slowly to the shed. The sound of birds singing filled the air. It was a peaceful start to the day. When he opened the small wooden door of the shed, he saw the goose sitting quietly in its nest. It looked calm, almost proud, as if it knew something special had happened. The farmer smiled and said, "Good morning, my friend. Do you have another golden gift for us today?" He walked closer and bent down. To his surprise, there wasn't just one egg in the nest. There were 2 golden eggs shining brightly. The farmer couldn't believe his eyes. "2!" he shouted. "2 golden eggs in one day!" His voice was so loud that his wife came running from the house. "What is it? What happened?" she asked, her face full of worry. "Look," the farmer said, holding up the 2 shining eggs. "Our goose has given us 2 golden eggs this time." The wife's eyes grew wide with excitement. "2? Oh, what a miracle! We are truly lucky." She took the eggs carefully and looked at them in the sunlight. They sparkled like small suns in her hands. They both felt happy and thankful. The farmer said softly, "We must thank the heavens for this blessing." The goose is truly special. That day, they went to the town market again and sold the 2 golden eggs. They came home with more money than they had ever imagined. The wife bought some fine cloth, and the farmer bought strong ropes and new farming tools. Life seemed to be getting better and better. But as days passed, the farmer noticed something strange. The goose began to act differently. It stopped playing in the yard and became quiet. It ate less food and stayed in its nest for longer hours. The farmer worried that the goose might be tired. One evening, he said to his wife, "I think the goose needs rest. We should take good care of it." But the wife shook her head. "No," she said, "it's fine. Maybe it will lay more eggs soon." A few days later, when the farmer went to the shed again, he noticed something even stranger. The goose was not in its usual place. It was sitting in the corner, guarding the nest carefully. When he came closer, the goose looked at him and spread its wings, as if protecting something. "What's wrong, my friend?" the farmer asked gently. He waited for a moment, then moved closer and peeked inside the nest. Inside, he saw not one, not two, but 3 golden eggs. The farmer's mouth dropped open. "3! 3 golden eggs!" he cried. His wife ran to see for herself. She gasped in amazement. "Oh my goodness! 3 eggs! We are going to be rich." The farmer, however, felt something strange in his heart. He was happy, but also worried. "This is a lot for one small bird," he said. "I hope the goose is not getting weak." The wife, on the other hand, was already dreaming of the future. "With this much gold," she said, "we can buy new land, build a big house, and never work again." That night, the farmer couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the goose. He remembered the old days when they had nothing but hope and hard work. Now they had gold, but also greed growing between them. The next morning, the farmer decided to rest the goose. He didn't take the eggs right away. He gave it more food and water. The goose looked tired, its feathers duller than before. He gently patted it and said, "You've done enough, my friend. You need to rest." But his wife was not pleased. "Why wait?" she asked angrily. "The goose can give us more gold. The sooner we have it, the better." The farmer shook his head. "No. If we push too hard, we might lose everything." The wife turned away, but her eyes still shone with desire. Each golden egg made her want more. The farmer could feel that their simple, happy life was starting to change, not because of the goose, but because of the greed that was quietly growing in their hearts. That day, the farmer sat outside and watched the sunset. He looked at the sky turning orange and pink and whispered, "May we never forget what truly matters." But in the distance, his wife looked at the shed and thought only of gold. Chapter 4. The First Golden Egg. Before the goose began to lay many golden eggs, there was the first one, the egg that changed everything. The farmer would never forget that morning, the morning when luck knocked on his door for the first time. It was a bright and sunny day. The farmer woke up early as usual. His wife was cooking porridge in the small kitchen, and the smell filled their little house. Outside, the birds were singing, and the fields were covered with fresh dew. Everything looked peaceful and calm. The farmer walked to the shed with his old basket. He planned to collect eggs from the chickens and the goose. He whistled as he walked, thinking about the hard work waiting for him in the field. When he opened the shed door, he noticed something shiny under the goose. At first, he thought it was a trick of the sunlight, but when he looked closer, his eyes grew wide. There, in the nest, lay a golden egg, smooth, round, and shining like fire in the morning light. He stood there, frozen. "Is this real?" he whispered. Carefully, he picked it up. It was heavy, heavier than any egg he had ever held. He rubbed it with his sleeve, and it gleamed even brighter. His heart began to beat fast. He called his wife loudly. "Come quickly!" "You must see this." She ran out of the kitchen, wiping her hands. "What is it? What happened?" "Look," said the farmer, showing her the shining egg. "Our goose has laid something strange." The wife gasped. "It's gold," she said in disbelief. "A golden egg." They both stared at it in silence. Then, slowly, big smiles spread across their faces. "We are rich," said the wife, her voice full of joy. The farmer, still holding the egg carefully, said softly, "Maybe it's a gift. Maybe our good days have finally come." They didn't know what to do at first. Should they keep it or sell it? After thinking for a while, they decided to take it to the town goldsmith. The farmer put the egg in a soft cloth, and they began their journey. The road to the town was long, but they walked fast with excitement. When they reached the goldsmith's shop, the man looked at the egg carefully. He tapped it, weighed it, and finally said, "This is pure gold." "Where did you find it?" The farmer smiled proudly. "Our goose laid it," he said. The goldsmith laughed. "A goose that lays golden eggs? That's impossible." But when he saw the serious look on their faces, he realized they were telling the truth. He gave them a good price for the egg, more money than they had ever seen in their lives. The farmer and his wife walked home with happy hearts. For the first time they felt hope, a hope that their poor days were finally over. That night, they sat by the fire and talked about their future. The wife said, "With this money, we can buy new clothes, fix the roof, and maybe get a cow." The farmer nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful. We don't know if the goose will lay another one." The wife smiled. "Even one golden egg is a miracle. We are lucky." Before sleeping, the farmer went to the shed again. He looked at the goose sitting quietly in its nest. "Thank you, little one," he whispered. "You have brought light into our lives." The goose blinked slowly, as if it understood. The next morning, the farmer woke up with excitement. He ran to the shed, hoping to see another golden egg. But there was none. Just one normal white egg lay in the nest. He felt a little disappointed, but he remembered his wife's words. Even one golden egg is a miracle. He smiled and went back inside. Days passed, and they lived carefully with their new money. They repaired their roof, bought new clothes, and filled their kitchen with food. For the first time in many years, they could eat well and sleep peacefully. The farmer often looked at the goose and thought, "If it laid one golden egg, maybe it will lay another." And deep in his heart, he believed it would. He was right, but he didn't know that the next golden egg would bring not only joy, but also temptation and trouble. Chapter 5. The Farmer's Growing Wealth. After the goose began to lay golden eggs regularly, the farmer's life changed more than he ever imagined. Every morning, he woke up with excitement and hope. As the sun rose, he hurried to the shed with a smile on his face, wondering if another golden egg was waiting for him. And almost every day, there it was, a golden egg, shining like the sun. The farmer would pick it up carefully and bring it inside to show his wife. They would both hold it in their hands, smiling with joy and disbelief. Soon, the farmer's house began to change. The roof was repaired, the broken doors were fixed, and new windows were added. The wife bought beautiful curtains, soft blankets, and new clothes. Their old, poor home slowly became one of the nicest houses in the village. The farmer also bought new tools for his farm, strong shovels, a new plow, and a big wooden cart. His land looked better than ever. He even hired a young helper from the village to work with him. People began to talk about him wherever they went. "Have you seen the farmer's new house?" one man said. "Yes," another replied. "They say he found a magic goose that lays golden eggs." Everyone in the village admired him. Some people were happy for him, but others felt jealous. They whispered behind his back, saying, "He's lucky. He doesn't deserve all that gold." The farmer tried not to listen to gossip. He continued working every day, just as before. But his wife started to act differently. She loved their new life and wanted more. "We are rich now," she said one evening. "Why do you still work so hard in the fields?" The farmer looked at her kindly. "Because work keeps me humble," he said, "and we must never forget how life used to be." The wife didn't agree. She dreamed of more gold, more land, and more comfort. She wanted to buy jewelry, fine dresses, and new furniture. Every golden egg made her want another one even faster. The farmer, however, stayed patient. "The goose gives us one golden egg each day," he said. "That's enough. We must be thankful." But his wife began to think differently. "One egg a day is too slow," she said to herself one night. "If only we could have all the eggs at once, we could be rich immediately." Meanwhile, the farmer used part of his money to help others. He gave food to poor families and helped rebuild the village well. People started to respect him even more. They said, "He's not only rich, but also kind." But the more generous and humble the farmer became, the more greedy his wife grew. She stopped helping in the kitchen and spent her time dreaming about gold. She would sit near the goose and stare at it for hours, thinking about how much gold it might have inside its body. One day, while counting the coins they had earned, she said sharply, "If this goose lays a golden egg every day, imagine how many must be inside it already." The farmer looked up from his work. "Please, don't talk like that," he said. "We have enough. Greed will bring us nothing but sorrow." The wife crossed her arms and said nothing, but her mind was full of restless thoughts. Days turned into weeks, and the golden eggs continued to appear. The farmer's wealth kept growing. He bought a cow, a few sheep, and even a small horse. He didn't live like a king, but he lived with peace in his heart. He thanked the heavens each day for his fortune. Still, something invisible had changed between him and his wife. The farmer cared about happiness, kindness, and patience. His wife cared only about gold. The more she dreamed, the more unhappy she became. One evening, as the sun went down and the sky turned orange, the wife looked at the goose and whispered to herself, "There must be many golden eggs inside you. Why should I wait one day at a time when I could have them all now?" The goose tilted its head, as if it understood her dangerous thought. The wife didn't know it yet, but her greed was slowly leading her and her husband toward disaster, a disaster that would destroy everything they had built together. Chapter 6: Dreams of a Rich Life. As the golden eggs continued to appear, the farmer and his wife started to dream about the future. Each egg brought them more money, and each day their hopes grew. The farmer, however, dreamed of simple happiness, while his wife dreamed of luxury and wealth. One quiet evening, they sat together by the fire, counting the coins they had earned from the golden eggs. "We have enough to live comfortably now," the farmer said. "We can repair the house, buy food, and help our neighbors. That is enough for me." But his wife shook her head. "No, my husband," she said. "Enough is not enough. We could have a bigger house, more land, beautiful clothes, jewelry, and servants. We could live like kings and queens." The farmer smiled gently. "True happiness is not only about money," he said. "It is about peace, love, and patience." The wife looked away. She was thinking about golden coins, shining jewelry, and a life free of work. "If only the goose could give us all the gold at once," she whispered to herself. The next morning, the farmer woke early and walked to the shed to check on the goose. It sat quietly in its nest, looking calm and gentle. He noticed how beautiful the bird was, with its soft feathers and bright eyes. "Thank you for helping us, little friend," he said softly. "You have changed our lives, and we are grateful." When the wife came outside, she stared at the goose with longing. "How much gold do you have inside you?" she asked. "If only we could open you and get it all at once, we would never be poor again." The farmer frowned. "Do not say such things," he warned. "Greed can destroy what we have." But the wife did not listen. Her mind was full of dreams. She imagined a new life, a big house with many rooms, servants to cook and clean, horses to ride, and fine clothes to wear every day. She thought about gold shining everywhere, and her heart beat faster with desire. As days passed, the golden eggs continued to appear. The farmer remained patient and humble. He sold some eggs, bought only what they needed, and gave some money to poor villagers. "We are lucky," he said, "but we must not forget kindness." The wife, however, could not stop dreaming. She began to think about taking the goose's gold all at once. She imagined cracking the goose open and finding a treasure chest full of shining eggs inside. She imagined living in luxury forever, without worry, without work, and without waiting for each golden egg. Each day, her dreams grew bigger and stronger. Even at night, she could not sleep. She whispered to herself, "I cannot wait any more. We deserve all the gold. We are poor no longer. Why wait for tomorrow when we can be rich today?" Meanwhile, the farmer continued his work in the fields, planting vegetables, feeding animals, and fixing fences. He tried to forget his wife's restless thoughts, but he could see her longing whenever she looked at the goose. The other villagers noticed the couple's change too. They saw that the farmer was still kind and humble, but his wife seemed different. She no longer smiled at neighbors, and she spent hours watching the goose. Some whispered, "Greed is dangerous. It can destroy even the happiest life." One morning, the farmer brought the golden egg to the town again. He sold it and returned home. His wife met him at the shed. She looked at the egg in his hands and whispered, "We cannot wait for more. We must take all the gold from the goose." The farmer shook his head. "Do not think about that," he said. "The goose gives us enough. Patience is the key. Greed will bring only sorrow." But the wife did not listen. Her dreams of riches had become stronger than her love for the simple life they once had. That night, she lay in bed, imagining the golden eggs stacked high, shining in the sunlight. She thought about a house bigger than anyone else's, filled with treasures. She imagined a life without work, without worry, and full of comfort. Little did she know, her dangerous thoughts were planting the seeds of disaster, seeds that would soon grow and destroy their peaceful life forever. Chapter 7. The Wife's Greedy Idea. The more golden eggs the goose laid, the more the wife's thoughts of wealth grew. Every morning, she watched the bird carefully, thinking about how much gold it could have inside. Her dreams were no longer quiet wishes. They became a plan, a dangerous plan. One evening, as the farmer counted the golden coins they had earned, his wife sat quietly in the corner. Her eyes followed the goose in the shed. Suddenly, she spoke. "Husband, I have an idea," she said softly. The farmer looked up from his work. "What is it?" he asked. "We have one golden egg every day," she continued. "But why wait? What if we could take all the gold from the goose at once?" The farmer's face turned pale. He could not believe what he was hearing. "No! That is wrong!" he shouted. "The goose has given us gifts every day. If we harm it, we will lose everything. Patience is what has made us rich so far." But the wife would not listen. Her heart was filled with greed. She thought about the big house she could build, the fine clothes she could wear, and the riches she could enjoy without working. "Why wait for one egg a day?" she whispered to herself. We could have all of it at once. We deserve it. The next morning, while the farmer worked in the fields, the wife went to the shed. She looked at the goose with longing. She touched its soft feathers and imagined cracking it open to find golden eggs inside. Her hands trembled with excitement. She called the farmer to the shed. "Look," she said, "this goose has given us so much. If we could get all the eggs at once, we would be the richest people in the world." The farmer shook his head. "Do not say that. Greed will destroy us. The goose has been kind and generous. We must care for it and be patient." But his words did not reach her. Her mind was already filled with her own plan. She decided to act, even if it meant disobeying her husband. That night, while the farmer slept, she crept quietly to the shed. The goose sat calmly in the corner, unaware of her plan. She whispered, "I will get the gold, little bird." "Forgive me carefully." She took a small knife from the kitchen. Her hands shook as she approached the goose. She thought about all the golden eggs hidden inside it. Her imagination made her heart beat faster. She dreamed of wealth, luxury, and comfort. But the goose seemed to sense something was wrong. It blinked slowly and moved back, protecting its nest. The wife hesitated for a moment. "It's just gold," she whispered. "We will be happy forever." Suddenly she acted. She tried to harm the goose to get the gold inside, but the goose cried out loudly, flapping its wings and making a noise that woke the farmer. He ran to the shed and saw what was happening. "Stop! No!" he shouted. "You are destroying everything we have." The wife froze. She realized her mistake too late. Her greed had made her forget the happiness they already had. The farmer rushed to protect the goose, but the damage was done. When the dust settled, the goose lay still. There were no more golden eggs. The wife's plan had failed. In her desire for more, she had lost the very thing that had given them wealth, joy, and hope. The farmer and his wife sat in silence, staring at the lost goose. Tears filled their eyes. The wife finally understood the truth. Her greed had destroyed what patience and care had built. That night, they could not sleep. They thought about what had happened. The golden eggs, the wealth, the dreams, everything was gone. The next morning, the villagers heard the sad news. "The goose is gone," they whispered. "The couple is poor again." Some shook their heads, saying, "Greed can ruin everything." The farmer held his wife's hand. "We must learn from this," he said gently. "Happiness is not in gold, but in patience, kindness, and care." The wife nodded, her heart heavy with regret. She understood the terrible lesson too late. The price of greed. From that day on, their life returned to being simple. The house was small, the land was the same, and they had little food again. But the farmer and his wife remembered the lesson of the golden goose, and they tried to live with honesty and humility. The story of the goose spread through the village, teaching everyone an important lesson. Greed destroys blessings, but patience brings happiness. Chapter 8. The Farmer's Big Mistake. After the wife's greedy plan failed, the farmer felt a mix of sadness and anger. Their golden goose was gone, and with it all the wealth they had enjoyed. The house was small again, the fields were empty, and their life returned to the hard work of before. Even though the wife regretted what she had done, the farmer could not stop thinking about how he could have prevented the disaster. He felt responsible too. "If only I had stopped her sooner," he thought. "If only I had protected the goose better." The next morning, the farmer went to the market to sell some vegetables. On the way, he saw other villagers working happily, enjoying simple lives. But he felt heavy in his heart. The loss of the goose haunted him. He wondered if there could be another way to fix everything. When he returned home, he told his wife, "We must work harder now. Our golden days are over. We will rebuild slowly." The wife nodded, still sad but wiser. "Yes," she said softly, "we must be careful and patient." Even with this understanding, the farmer's mind kept thinking about gold. He remembered how shiny the eggs were, how light they made their hearts, and how easy life had seemed. "If only we could have more golden eggs," he whispered to himself. A dangerous thought was forming in his mind, a thought similar to his wife's old greed. Days passed. The farmer could not stop dreaming about wealth. He remembered the morning the first golden egg appeared. "Maybe," he thought, "there is another goose somewhere. If we find it, we can become rich again one afternoon." He made a decision. "I will find another goose," he told his wife. "We cannot live like this, poor and struggling. If we can get another goose that lays golden eggs, we will be happy again." The wife looked worried. "Be careful," she said. "Do not let greed take over. Remember what happened before." But the farmer was determined. His desire for wealth had begun to grow stronger than his patience. He went to the nearby forests, searching for a goose that might be magical. He asked villagers and travelers if they had heard of a golden-laying bird. After days of searching, he could not find anything. The forests were quiet, and the villagers shook their heads. "There's no other goose," they said. "The golden goose was unique. You must learn to live without it." The farmer refused to accept this. He thought, "I cannot go back to a poor life. There must be another goose somewhere. I will find it no matter what," his wife pleaded. "Do not do this. The last time greed destroyed everything. You must be patient," but the farmer's heart was no longer patient. The memory of golden eggs, wealth, and comfort made him restless. "We deserve happiness," he muttered. "I will do anything to get it." Finally, he made his biggest mistake. He went to the market and asked about rare geese, birds, or anything that might lay golden eggs. He spent all the money they had saved from vegetables and simple work to buy a strange old goose from a traveling trader. The trader promised that the goose was magical. But the farmer did not notice the suspicious look in the man's eyes. The farmer's desire for gold blinded him. When he brought the goose home, he felt a small spark of hope. "Maybe this one will give us golden eggs too," he said to himself. The wife watched silently. She remembered what had happened before. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "We cannot repeat our mistakes." The farmer ignored her warning. His mind was filled with dreams of wealth, comfort, and power. But deep down, he did not realize that the real mistake was not the goose he bought. It was the greed growing inside him. That night, the new goose sat quietly in the shed. The farmer hoped for gold. The wife prayed for patience. And outside, the village slept, unaware that another lesson about greed and wisdom was about to unfold. Chapter 9. The Sad Discovery. The next morning, the farmer woke up with excitement. He ran to the shed, hoping the new goose would lay a golden egg. His heart beat fast, filled with dreams of wealth and comfort. His wife followed him slowly, worried but still curious. The farmer opened the shed door and looked inside. The goose sat quietly in the nest. He held his breath and whispered, Please, little bird, give us gold. But there was no golden egg. Not even a white egg appeared. The farmer frowned. Maybe it is tired, he said to himself. He waited and watched the goose all day, but the bird did not move much. It ate a little, drank water, and went back to its corner. Days passed, and still there were no golden eggs. The farmer grew frustrated. Why does it not lay any eggs? He asked his wife. The wife shook her head sadly. We should have been patient with the first goose, she said quietly. Greed has brought us nothing but trouble. The farmer ignored her words. He kept hoping for gold. He fed the goose carefully, cleaned the shed, and waited every morning. But every day the goose gave nothing. One morning, the farmer noticed something strange. The new goose looked weak. Its feathers were dull and its eyes seemed sad. It was not happy like the first goose. The farmer felt a little fear in his heart. Maybe it is sick, he said. He tried to feed it more, giving it grain and water, but the goose could not lay eggs. The farmer waited and waited, hoping that the next day would bring a golden surprise. Weeks went by, and still there was no gold. The farmer realized the sad truth. The new goose was not magical. The golden eggs were gone forever. All their hopes for quick wealth had disappeared. The wife came to the shed one afternoon. Look at it, she said sadly. We lost everything. Our golden days are over. The farmer sat down beside the goose and sighed. It is true, he said. We lost the first goose, and now this one cannot help us. Our mistakes have cost us dearly. They looked around their small farm. The repaired house, the new tools, and the few coins they had spent were gone. The farmer and his wife were poor again, just like before, but this time they had learned a very important lesson. They understood that greed and impatience had destroyed their blessings. They remembered how the first goose had given them wealth slowly, day by day. They realized that being careful, patient, and thankful was more important than having gold all at once. The villagers noticed the couple's sadness. Children whispered stories about the golden goose and the dangers of greed. Adults talked quietly, saying, Greed can take everything away, even happiness. The farmer looked at his wife and held her hand. We must start over, he said softly. We may have lost gold, but we still have each other and our small farm. If we work honestly, we can live in peace again. The wife nodded. Her eyes were wet with tears, but she smiled faintly. Yes, she said, we must never forget this lesson. Greed only brings sorrow. From that day on, they lived a simple life. They worked in the fields, fed the animals, and repaired their house slowly. They did not have wealth, but they had each other. And this time, they promised themselves to value patience and gratitude more than riches. The farmer and his wife often talked about the golden goose, not with regret, but with understanding. They realized that true happiness was not in the gold inside the eggs, but in the simple joy of living and working together. And so the lesson of the golden goose spread through the village. Patience and gratitude are more valuable than gold, and greed can destroy even the greatest blessings. Chapter 10. The Lesson of Greed. After the loss of the golden goose and all its eggs, the farmer and his wife sat together in their small house. The walls were plain, the roof was old, and the fields were empty again. But their hearts were full of understanding. They had learned a powerful lesson about greed, patience, and gratitude. The wife looked at her husband and said softly, We were foolish. Our desire for more gold made us lose everything we had. The farmer nodded. "Yes," he said. "We forgot that happiness is not in gold. It is in patience, kindness, and enjoying the simple things in life." They remembered the first goose, sitting quietly in its nest, giving them one golden egg at a time. It had taught them how to be patient and thankful. But their impatience and greed had destroyed that gift. Now, they could only remember it as a lesson. From that day on, they worked together in the fields, planting vegetables, feeding the animals, and repairing their small home. Life was hard again, but they were happy in a quiet and peaceful way. They no longer dreamed of gold or riches. Instead, they dreamed of a good harvest, a warm meal, and a safe home. The farmer also helped others in the village, giving advice and sometimes sharing the small vegetables he grew. The wife, too, learned to smile at the simple joys of life, the song of birds, the beauty of flowers, and the warmth of the sun on her face. Sometimes villagers would ask them about the golden goose. The farmer would smile and say, "We had wealth once, but we lost it because we were greedy." The lesson is important. Patience is more valuable than gold. The wife would nod quietly. She never forgot how her own greed had caused the loss of the golden eggs. She understood now that one small mistake could destroy everything, no matter how lucky you seem to be. Life slowly returned to normal. Their house was small, but full of love. Their fields were simple, but enough to eat. The farmer and his wife learned to enjoy every day, being thankful for what they had. Even though they were poor again, they were richer in wisdom. They taught their children and the villagers about the dangers of greed. "Do not be impatient," the farmer said. "Do not desire more than what you need. True happiness comes from care, love, and patience." The story of the golden goose became famous in the village. Children listened carefully and whispered, "The goose that laid golden eggs taught a great lesson about greed." The farmer and his wife never forgot that lesson. They understood that gold could bring happiness only if one knew how to be patient. Without patience, even the greatest gift could be lost. Years passed, and the couple lived quietly in their small house. They grew old together, happy in their simple life. Every morning, they woke up early, worked in the fields, and enjoyed the small pleasures of life: a warm meal, the laughter of children, the sound of birds, and the gentle wind in the trees. They never again desired wealth beyond what they needed. They learned that life's true treasures are not gold or riches, but love, patience, and the happiness of living honestly. And so, the lesson of the golden goose lived on, teaching generations that greed destroys blessings, but patience and gratitude bring true happiness. The farmer and his wife smiled at each other, knowing that even without gold, they were truly rich in wisdom and love. Thank you for reading and listening to The Goose That Laid the Golden Eggs. I hope you enjoyed this story and learned an important lesson along the way. The story teaches us that patience, gratitude, and honesty are more valuable than wealth. The farmer and his wife learned that greed can destroy even the greatest blessings. They realized that true happiness does not come from gold, but from love, care, and enjoying the simple things in life. Even though the golden eggs were gone, the wisdom they gained stayed with them forever. This story reminds us that waiting, working hard, and being thankful every day brings real joy. Stories like this are not just fun to read, They also help us learn English in an easy and interesting way. By reading and listening, you can improve your vocabulary, understand simple sentence patterns, and practice speaking confidently. Remember, every story has a lesson, and every lesson can help us in our own lives. Just like the farmer and his wife, we can learn to make good choices, be patient, and appreciate what we have. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more English stories. Keep learning, keep practicing, and remember, patience and kindness are the real treasures of life. Thank you for joining me today. See you in the next story.